Diary of Samuel Pepys, 4th of May, 1660. I wrote this morning many letters, and to all the copies of the vote of the Council of War I put my name, that if it should come in print, my name may be at it. I sent a copy of the vote to Doling, enclosed in this letter. Sir, he that can fancy a fleet like ours in her pride, with pendants loose, guns roaring, caps flying, and the loud Vive le Roi echoed from one ship's company to another, he and he only can apprehend the joy this enclosed vote was received with, or the blessing he thought himself possessed of that bore it, and is your humble servant. About 9 o'clock I got all my letters done and sent them by the messenger that came yesterday. This morning, Captain Isham on board with a gentleman going to the king, by whom, very cunningly, my lord tells me that he intends to send an account of this day's and yesterday's actions here, notwithstanding he had writ to the Parliament to have leave of them to send the king the answer of the fleet. Since my writing of the last paragraph, my lord called me to him to read his letter to the king, to see whether I could find any slips in it or no, and as much of the letter as I can remember is thus. May it please your most excellent majesty, and so begins, that he yesterday received from General Monk his majesty's letter and direction, and that General Monk had desired him to write to the Parliament to have leave to send the vote of the seamen before he did send it to him, which he had done by writing to both speakers. But for his private satisfaction he had sent it thus privately, and so the copy of the proceedings yesterday was sent to him, and that this come by a gentleman that came this day on board, intending to wait upon his majesty, that he is my lord's countryman, and one whose friends have suffered much on his majesty's behalf, that my lords Pembroke and Salisbury are put out of the House of Lords, that my lord is very joyful that other countries do pay him the civility and respect due to him, and that he do much rejoice to see that the king do resolve to receive none of their assistance, or some such words, from them, he having strength enough in the love and loyalty of his own subjects to support him, that his majesty had chosen the best place, Scheveling, for his embarking, and that there is nothing in the world of which he is more ambitious than to have the honour of attending his majesty, which he hoped would be speedy, that he had commanded the vessel to attend Helversluis till this gentleman returns, that, so if his majesty do not think it fit to command the fleet himself, yet that he may be there to receive his commands and bring them to his lordship. He ends his letter that he is confounded with the thoughts of the high expressions of love to him in the king's letter, and concludes, your most loyal, dutiful, faithful, and obedient subject and servant, Edward Montague. The rest of the afternoon at ninepins. In the evening came a packet from London, among the rest a letter from my wife, which tells me that she has not been well, which did exceedingly trouble me. But my lord sending Mr. Cook at night, I wrote to her and sent a piece of gold enclosed to her, and wrote also to Mrs. Boyer and enclosed half a piece to her for a token. After supper, at the table in the coach, my lord talking concerning the uncertainty of the places of the exchequer to them that had them now. He did at last think of an office which do belong to him, in case the king do restore every man to his places that ever had been patent, which is to be one of the clerks of the signet, which will be a fine employment for one of his sons. After all this discourse we broke up and to bed. In the afternoon came a minster on board, one Mr. Sharp, who is going to the king, who tells me that commissioners are chosen both of Lords and Commons to go to the king, and that Dr. Clarges is going to him from the army, and that he will be here tomorrow. My letter at night tell me that the house did deliver their letters to Sir John Greenville, in answer to the king's sending, and that they gave him £500 for his pains to buy him a jewel, and that besides the 50,000 ordered to be borrowed of the city for the present use of the king, the 12 companies of the city do give every one of them to his majesty as a present £1,000.